Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to yet another Cutter Degrassi video. And today I'm going to be taking a look at my pet peeve about season 5 episode. Our Lips Are Sealed and all that. So, season 5's Our Lips Are Sealed is the two-parter that sees Emma having to pick up the pieces after Spike and Snake separate because of Snake's trees with Hatzalakos, which only happened because Emma sees it only because she was trying to have her and Peter make out without anyone looking, because obviously that Emma should not have been with Peter, and Emma still was thinking about Peter. Of course, for that narrative, you have to go back to the start of season 5, which she pines over losing Sean because Hurricane Sean put her through her emotional trailer park, and then she likes Peter, even though that Peter does put Manny in a bad spot with the video and all that. And Emma and Manny now lives with Emma because her father wants her to be submissive, but she says no. Anyway, um, so for that, and then our lips are, and then she tries to hide the fact she's still with Peter, and then finds Snake and Hatzalakos, and Snake tells her not to say anything, but she couldn't bring herself to say no to that and tells Spike everything. Spike, of course, gets mad at Snake for trying to pressure Emma to keep quiet, more so than anything. So anyway, um, yeah, Emma tries to hide her stuff with Peter, and then of course Snake's trees with Hatzalakos is exposed, and Snake now has to live with Joey for a while. And then Emma has to pick up the pieces with the housework and all that. She's stressed out. Manny doesn't really seem to help and all that. And worse off, Manny decides to have that meeting with another talent scout, despite the fact that one of her things for living in the Simpson home, one of the rules was that she could not be acting for a year. Well, she has to have an A average, but she also has to, not be acting for a year. So it just ticks me off that she's willing to go see that talent scout, despite the fact that that talent scout kind of was racist towards her with the beans and milk thingy. So then Emma is told by Manny, I probably need to lose a few pounds. So Emma helps Manny lose some weight. Manny's happy. But then Emma for some strange reason, decides that this is the perfect escape from her problems and all that. So despite the fact that Snake and Spike do reconcile thanks to Emma's actions in a sense, Emma still does the unhealthy dieting and all that because there's a deep rooted issue, if you will. So of course Manny kind of exposes Emma's food journal, and Emma finally blurts out that she's dating Peter. This is why I have troubles. I'm dating Peter. The stress of it is bad. And then Manny decides to, leave the next day because Emma it was with Peter and all that. But of course, Emma kind of did it because she didn't want to be exposed with her food journal. I mean, like, Emma runs and runs and still doesn't lose weight. It's her natural body type. And the simple fact that, you know, you have to eat something to earn the carbohydrates. I don't know how the system works, but whatever. So it gets to the point that even Peter notices Emma's eating problems. Of course, Emma faints in the hallway. Hatzalakos tries to help her out, but Emma's not too sure about it. And then they staged the intervention for her, and Emma ate people with the comments that you think you're so perfect. She goes to Peter, you take advantage of drunk chicks. To Manny, she goes, you are that drunk chick. And Snake, she goes, and last time I checked, you were dating his mother. I'm actually surprised she didn't eat at Spike. I would have said, and you're the one who's been pressuring me to pick up the slack. It's partially your fault too. And then, of course, Emma has a panic attack after trying to throw Manny out of the house after Manny tells everything things. And then she's in the hospital with her eating disorder, and then she decides to, get better. And then by season 6, she seems to be better. But the one part that ticks me off is where's the mention of the shooting in season 4? Because, you know, and for that matter, how come they don't, when Emma has her problems, they don't talk to her, and they basically tell her, Emma, is this because of the whole Rick situation? So I wrote a post 10 days ago, and this is on July the 12th for context. It says, saw the intervention scene for Emma in Our Lips Are Sealed. I noticed something. And I quote, why didn't they question Emma about whether her problems were related to the Rick Murray situation? A simple little line that Snake and her Spike could have said after everyone tells Emma about her problems would be, are you still affected by what happened last year? I mean, they should have just asked that. Even if Emma said no, then they could move on. But it seemed like the writers in every character wanted to move on from the Rick Murray situation, sweep it under the rug. I mean, from a character point of view, they didn't want to talk about what could have easily been a death blow for the school if Rick was alive, and said all the stuff that many characters, all stuff that stuff, then many characters would have been cooked in, especially the administration. I mean, in season 5, the only storyline to follow for Rick Murray was Spinner's Redemption song, which was actually fantastic. It seemed by them not mentioning they could move on, but some people couldn't. And I'm like, I think Emma's issues of self control or lack control was to do with it because she started prioritizing having a boyfriend and staying best friends with me. That was not good. Maybe I'm overanalyzing things. To explain that, what I said that was the fact that, you know, it would have been good to actually, yeah, to ask the question, are you affected by last year? It doesn't have to be like they'd say Rick Murray directly. They could have just said, so affected by what happened last year, because we all know what happened last year with Emma. That basically she had a glow up. She and Chris broke up. She thought she could find a guy, but no one was interested, and she didn't want to walk back to Chris. And so she decides to break off Liberty and Chris because, in her mind, what would people think about me? And to me, it's like, well, people think of you negatively anyway, Emma. Why do you care about what people think about now? And you do these causes. So practically, she and Manny and Liberty split off, and Emma goes towards Paige's clique to find a friend group, thinking that she found acceptance, but basically, Emma was kicked out for being a hypocrite, a supposed hypocrite at that. And then she joins the quiz bowl team, and then, Rick advances towards her and wants to be with her because she was nice to him and nice guy logic. And then when Emma says, I pitied you to get a clue, Rick is forlorn. But he almost snaps out of it until um, Jimmy, no, sorry, Spinner and Jay talk Rick into going after Jimmy, which he did. And then he conveniently finds Emma and wants to go after her. Thankfully, though, Shaw saves her life. So that's that. And then Emma starts exhibiting problems. She seems to be fine. Like well, back in Black, she had her problems and her forlornness with Sean leaving. But then again, Emma doesn't really show any bad symptoms. And then in secret, we find out that it's been a few months and Emma needs to participate in class because, it's part of her grade. I mean, Perino was trying to be giving tough love and all that. But Perino could have also talked to Snake about the problems and all that. He probably did. And then, of course, Snake and Spike walk on eggshells around Emma. Emma then goes to the ravine. You know what happens. She seems to get a social disease, and that actually snaps her out of her funk and she probably realizes what she did. And she kind of tells her guilt to Spike and Snake, saying that she doesn't like herself about and with the Rick situation. So she might be telling on herself. But yeah, it just is terrible and all that. I mean, you know, Emma was conveniently, or like the Rick situation did play in her mind because she had a situation she couldn't control, and then she was probably thinking, "I'm the girl that's supposed to be in control of things." What's wrong with me? Season 6, even season 6, with the whole JT stabbing happening steps from Emma's house, she freaked out. But then she was telling everyone her problems. She was just basically saying, oh, all these things, trying to alleviate her guilt, I think. And people weren't really listening to her, and she went overboard. And then that's probably why Emma decided, you know what, people don't want to talk to me? Fine. I'll just internalize everything. And then start being liked that way. Because she's like, well, and everyone's like, and myself, it's like, well, she didn't, she internalized everything in season 4 with the Rick situation. And she was trying to tell people her feelings in season 6, realizing she shouldn't keep things bottled in, but they didn't want to listen to her. Although she was a little over the top. So let's see what people thought about it. Kenza says, this isn't what an intervention is for. The fact that they didn't mention it makes sense to me. Even if this was real life, and Spike and Snake may have brought it up, emotions got heated and things rarely go to plan. My issue is that the show jumped straight to an intervention. Interventions, I don't know what else to do, so let's do an intervention situation. I don't think Spike and Snake had a one-on-one conversation with Emma, and she wasn't taken to a pediatrician or a therapist to try to address this before the intervention. So, and that makes sense. I mean, like, they probably would have brought it up anyway. Um, Lulu says, well, I agree that I think Emma has endured way more trauma since then. No, while I agree, I guess with me, I think Emma has endured way more trauma since then. She caught her stepdad cheating with her boyfriend's mom. Her mom and him broke up. Manny was living at the house. Home life was chaotic, and she was sneaking around with Peter when she shouldn't have. Not to mention her home life and school life are intertwined. She was juggling everything, and keep in mind she endured more trauma before the shooting, including being Snake's cancer diagnosis. By the end of high school, Emma had endured Sean going to jail, losing JT at a house party, a pregnancy scare, Snake getting accused of sexual assault, Liberty hooking up with her new boyfriend, and probably more that I forgot. Everything gets glossed over. I mean, um, that was not so much there, but yeah, exactly. She had everything intertwined. Yeah, she should have dropped off from Peter to help out the house or something. Hastygram says they already decided those problems were resolved by the blowjob plot. Part of why I hate that arc. She acted out, and then it was the last time they ever connected any emotional trauma to the shooting. I would have loved this connection so much more. Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Carolina Honey says sometimes the writers just drop the ball on certain stuff, and they never addressed Alex's involvement in the shooting. And an upper flamingo said, I think Spinner left Alex out of that mission to Haslakos because she didn't join him and Jay in framing Jimmy for the prank. Exactly. He knew he couldn't pin things on Alex, and of course, Jay being a dickwad. Simple. Lady Forsyth says, late interventions are not the time to delve into the cause of problems. They're supposed to be the time you express concern about your loved one's behavior and how they need help. Therapy is where you get into the root of these things. Yeah. Anyway, so that's that part of the story. So anyway, yeah, and well, it's a general thing with the fact that they try to walk away from the murder situation. I know in season 5 they kind of talked about it, and Hatzlackles reminds Spinner of his misdeeds a couple times. Kind of a little bit of a power trip and all that. I think Madge would have done that too if he was principal, but still. I mean, after season 5, I mean, I don't think we really got many mentions about the Rex situation, not even from in passing from anybody. I think they just wanted to sweep it under the rug. I mean, I don't blame Degrassi, like for the school, because they all did some terrible things. The school was scrutinized after the shooting and all that, and I think that Hatzlackles knew that her time had been up and all that. But thankfully for her, she was safe as houses. But yeah, it does boggle the mind. And of course, as I said last week about Hatzelak was talking about the spinner saying that he's responsible for, or indirectly responsible, as she puts it, for Rick's death. Like, you know, for Rick being bullied, yeah, he's directly involved, but indirectly, yeah, you don't tell a child you're responsible for someone's death because maybe you're on a power trip, maybe you're trying to fix the school, and maybe the school board's putting pressure on Degrassi and maybe cutting their funding on purpose. I don't know, but that's the way I put it. So, in essence, I mean, people are understandable why they didn't do the intervention. They didn't say the Rick situation in the intervention. It would have actually made sense because it would just be like, well, maybe it's the Rick thing. Maybe you just say that in passing. You don't have to say it like forcefully. You just say that in passing. Maybe Emma says something. Who knows? It's just that they just wanted to gloss it over. Don't know why. Anyway, I'm jumped. I'm gonna do.